I'm an addict, not to drugs or alcohol, but to control. Weight control. Eating disorders are not profound body issues, nor are they only the disease of skeleton girls in hospitals. Eating disorders are addictions. Addictions to control, addictions that have a proven biological and psychological foundation. Research shows changes in the brain structures of individuals with anorexia and bulimia that link eating directly to feelings of shame and discomfort. Moreover, there are addictions that anybody can develop under the right circumstances. In the United States alone, 20 million women and 10 million men suffer from clinically significant eating disorders. And that number doesn't even include anybody with subclinical stages of eating disorders, because that number is too hard to quantify. Those individuals are too hard to identify. Eating disorders have much deeper roots, though, than just simple concerns about food and weight. Food and weight are the mediums through which individuals like I live the real issues of those diseases, those often being self-hatred and control obsessions. When things are not working out, you compensate for that feeling of lack of control in your life by restricting your diet. Searching for a reason why things are just not going your way, joined with a real lack of self-confidence, you find the perfect victim for all your disappointments, your body. In that mindset, your body is a reason why things are not working out. Your body is a reason why you're unhappy. But the amazing thing you recognize is that you control your body. And all of a sudden, you have found a way to control all of your problems, or at least the majority of them. At first, you're merely watching your weight. Soon, you cut out certain foods entirely, and suddenly, you find yourself setting stringent calorie limits. What begins with innocent intentions ends in a lifelong journey of recovery. What begins with a number ends in a snowballing into a progressively lower and lower target weight. For me, it started in 7th grade biology. We were calculating body mass indexes, and I came out with a value of 16, slightly underweight for my age, but not bad. But no one believed me. Instead, they accused me of miscalculating, and that stuck. I became obsessed with my weight before I'd never thought twice about it. I connected that anger and disrespect I felt from those comments directly to my body. I thought I could fix it. I could prove them wrong if I just lost more weight. And so I cut out candy, told myself I hated it, to the point at which I actually hated it. I stopped eating breakfast, then lunch, then dinner. I would have one meal after school, and that was it. I weighed 105 pounds back then, at the same height as I am now. The time following gets blurry. I know I recovered in the second half of 10th grade, relapsed again in November of that year. I've been through 3 periods of such up and downs by now. In the good times, you're strong. You still know the calorie amount of every food you consume, but you don't care, you still eat it. And then stress increases. Your boyfriend breaks up with you. You get in a fight with a good friend. And all of a sudden, you find yourself not eating again. All of a sudden, you find yourself on the second floor of second floor of a campus building, late at night, searching for an abandoned bathroom because you don't want your roommates to know that you're puking again. Each relapse is different. Each relapse is worse than the one before. As an anorexic, not eating gives you power, gives you confidence, because you are working against what you deem the source of all your problems, your body. With bulimia, it's a little bit more complicated. You still eat, but then you feel terrible. You feel ashamed. You feel out of control. And in order to compensate, you vomit. And then you feel terribly good again. It's like a ritual of cleansing yourself of all the problems that you're facing. Again, leaving you more powerful and confident than before. Eating disorders are coping mechanisms. Your way to deal with your problems when everything in your life seems out of control and unmanageable. I thought a lot about coming here today. My best friend's sister died from an eating disorder. I never made it to the hospital. Doesn't that mean that I'm not actually sick? Doesn't that mean that I don't deserve to stand up here? Doesn't that mean that I'm imagining everything? That I'm normal? Like the girl who, with a smile on her face, proudly admits that she skipped lunch today? Or the other girl who justifies her food with a workout earlier that day? But that's not true. When you wake up in the morning and your first thought goes to whether or not you successfully followed your diet plan last night, something's wrong. When you lie to your family, friends, and psychiatrists about whether or what you had for breakfast or dinner, something's wrong. When you have a stringent maximum of 500 calories a day, something's wrong. When you spend a month teaching yourself every night how to vomit before you can finally do it, something's wrong. When you interrupt your birth control medication halfway through the month because you know you will lose 5 pounds if you just stop it right now, something's wrong. You don't need to lay in a hospital room to have a serious eating disorder. You are not imagining an eating disorder when you have these thoughts. You are sick. You need help. You are an addict. In my personal experience, the longer you put off seeking help, the worse it gets. Long-term repercussions of anorexia and bulimia are serious. Severe nutritional deficiency, hair loss, osteoporosis, heart and other organ failure, infertility. As an addict, you hear the sing-song recitation of those symptoms, but you simply do not care. The short-term high you feel from vomiting, the pride and strength you feel from not eating, overtrumps any thoughts of long-term negative repercussions. But they're real. And they will come and haunt you even years after you might have recovered. How much will you regret not caring when in 15 years from today, you're happily married, but you can no longer have your own children? Don't disregard yourself because you don't look like one of those girls you know from the anti-anorexia posters that's barely skin and bones. What is illustrated on those posters are the end stages. But the disease begins somewhere very different. The disease begins in places like this university with you just making a habit of skipping lunch. In our society, we are perfectly willing to accept dieting. We are perfectly willing to accept calorie counting. Even the thought of justifying food through workouts doesn't make us think twice anymore, does not even make us hesitate. The only thing we do recognize, the moment at which we flip the switch, is when our friend, sibling, or loved one is going to the hospital. And then we wonder, how did this happen? But even then, we're not truly willing to address the topic. There's that awkward silence that surrounds the topic of eating disorders. It's a taboo. The reasons for this sort of behavior vary. Sometimes it's by accident. because we are truly oblivious to the changes in the other person. But more often, it's intentional, because we don't know how to raise the topic, because we never really addressed it, because it's a private issue, because we only think of it in terms of horrendously skinny girls. On my dorm floor at Georgetown last year, we had 3 girls with bulimia. Everybody knew. There are signs put up in the bathroom by housekeeping asking us not to vomit in the showers. Our RA knew. And despite all her training, despite what a great RA she was, she never said anything because she had never learned how to. There exists this perception that eating disorders are voluntary problems, that you choose to be sick. But that's not true. Eating disorders begin with control. Control you hope to gain over your body, when in reality, every meal you skip, every time you vomit, you let the disease gain more control over you. And before you notice it, your body's too dependent. It's not a choice, it's a disease. For individuals between the age of 14 and 25, the mortality rate of anorexia is 12 times higher than any other cause of death. It's not a choice, it's a disease. Only 1/3 of individuals with eating disorders fully recover. The other third spends their life bouncing back between good and bad periods. And the last third remains clinically ill for the rest of their life. It is not a choice. It is a disease. As a bystander, ask yourself the question, what would you do if you noticed that your friend stopped eating regularly? What would you do if you noticed that your friend only followed weird diets that interestingly forbid her to eat anything with sugar, carbs, or fat? Either you put it off as the newest diet plan from some magazine and you really don't care about it again. Or you disregard it and tell yourself that he's just looking for attention. And finally, you tell yourself that she's not that skinny, he still looks normal, it's a phase, she'll get over it. So when do you intervene? When your friend is on the way to the hospital, because clearly now she is sick, but by now, her body has been damaged irreparably. His nutrient levels are incredibly low. She probably doesn't get her period anymore. And his internal organs have been damaged. Eating disorders are not only the disease of super skinny girls. Yes, that is definitely an identifying factor. But again, it starts somewhere very different. Moreover, if we can stop the disease before it takes an irreparable toll on the body of a friend or loved one, that's what we want. Sometimes the thought of solving my problems through not eating still creeps into my mind. Sometimes, after a bad day, I still feel like going through that cleansing ritual of vomiting. Always am I going to be an addict. But what I have realized is that I have amazing friends, and that you cannot remedy all problems by yourself. And now, in those times of struggle, I lean on my friends. I make sure that I'm not alone. I make sure that I can't be tempted. If you are sick, find those people. Overcoming problems together is much easier. And if you know or suspect somebody's sick, be there for them. Georgetown's community is full of intelligent people, full of amazing people. Let us ensure that their energy is not wasted on thinking about how to restrict food, calories, and weight, but how to have a better impact on society. Let us break that awkward silent void that surrounds the topic of eating disorders. Let us stop the disease before it can have a lasting damage on the body of a friend, sibling, or loved one. Thank you.